He sounds like if you get a bunch of just like marbles, okay? Imagine marbles now. It's always better to just describe things using examples. So imagine you get a marble, you just eat them. Just eat a bunch of marbles, like 20 marbles. You eat them all. And then you try shooting them out through your freaking nose. That's what I'm hearing right here. Look, listen real close. Ready?
Will Elizabeth, also known as Will Ramos on a wig, is probably one of the best things I have ever seen. As always, make sure to follow my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram, Threads, and X, and subscribe to my YouTube channel at It's Lielers. And also do not forget to follow me on TikTok at Lielers. Lielers on TikTok. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. As I was drafting today's episode, I cannot help but to notice we may have like a long episode, so bear with me. Of course, we're gonna be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. I already watched this movie 2 times and I am telling you guys, yeah, we need to talk about it. But of course, it's gonna be at the very end of the episode. If you guys just don't want to hear what's been happening in pop culture, you are more than welcome to check out the description. I'll let you know when the spoiler free and the spoiler version starts. But this week, not only we're going to be talking about that, we are also going to be talking about WrestleMania possibly going to London. And of course, the bombshells that's been happening at San Diego Comic-Con. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and kick off with that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this episode started. I have to talk about the elephant in the room. So if you guys do not know, San Diego Comic-Con is already happening this weekend. Of course, it's too overpriced for me. I will admit though, it is one of my probably bucket list things that I always wanted to do is to attend San Diego Comic-Con. So who knows, maybe in the foreseeable future. But yes, there's a lot of announcements that I need to talk about. Marvel announcements at that. So where do I start? Well, obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, but not as Iron Man. Yes, RDJ is now going to be the evil mastermind Dr. Doom. Everybody's talking about it. I need to talk about it because I already have my theories on it. So, if you guys think about it, this whole thing that's happening, like the announcements, the appearance, and all of that, is kind of like an ode to the quote that we heard from Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. You die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that's exactly what we're seeing. The plot twist is that Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man died a hero. And all of a sudden, boom, he's back. Like, RDJ's coming back, and now he's becoming a villain. And that's where the theories are starting to come out. Now, before I get ahead of myself, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing Victor Von Doom for the upcoming Avengers Doomsday, and I'll get into that in a bit, but here's the theory. I saw a picture post on TikTok by somebody, and they posted what could possibly be the scenario happening on Earth 11029, and it says, during college, Victor Von Doom tricks Tony Stark into an experiment where his mind is transferred to Tony's body, while Tony's mind is transferred to Doom's body with his memory erased. Now that one I can actually see happening. Now it makes sense. So RDJ did say whenever he made the announcement that he was going to play Dr. Doom, he said, quote, new mask, same task. And I'm like, okay, if this scenario were to actually happen, other characters in the multiverse will see, you know, Robert Downey Jr., but they would see Tony Stark, and it's like, wait a second, how did he become this person? Like, the Tony that we know was Iron Man. But again, if you think about it, we are in the multiverse era, so anything can happen. Lots of stories can be twisted, so this could possibly do make sense. Another theory, and this is my personal theory, based on what Robert Downey Jr. said, I think Tony becomes Dr. Doom and annihilates Thanos himself without the Avengers' help. And that's another comic book post that I saw on TikTok as well, where Doom encounters Thanos and Thanos is like, you're nothing, so Neo, you know, whatever. And Dr. Doom all of a sudden annihilates him. And I'm just like, okay, that also makes sense of what could possibly happen. Either way, the reaction at Hall H was crazy. Even I was like, what just happened? Again, I wasn't there, but I've been seeing all the posts on my social media, and I was like, yeah, we need to talk about it. But can I just say, fuck everyone who thinks Robert Downey Jr. coming back was a waste. Like, these people are not Marvel fans, and if they're over there questioning the MCU, like, they can do better, I don't think they could. At the end of the day, you guys didn't even made a fucking comic in the Marvel universe, so why even give a negative response? Like, it's not like you guys even read the comics to begin with. Sure, they've been on some bumpy roads recently, but at the end of the day, actual Marvel fans are losing their minds about all these theories and possibilities of what can actually happen. And cinema's back at that. Look at Deadpool and Wolverine, which again, we will be talking about this later on in this episode. Now, I mentioned Avengers. It has been reconfirmed. However, Avengers Doomsday will be replacing the Kang Dynasty, and Avengers Doomsday will be released on May 2026. Avengers Secret Wars is still happening and will be released on May 2027. I know there is a big ass delay, but of course it comes from the scrapping of the Kang Dynasty, since all that drama with Jonathan Majors has been happening behind the scenes. Not only that, the Russo brothers are coming back to direct these two movies, so yeah, maybe the MCU is finally saved. I know I complained about it in the past. Of course, the storylines didn't make sense, but I feel like now with Deadpool and Wolverine, yeah, I can finally say, thank God the MCU is back on track. Now, speaking of the MCU, another announcement that was also announced on San Diego Comic-Con was Fantastic Four. Of course, we already know it's currently in production. Pedro Pascal actually blessed us with a picture of the new cast and himself. Yvonne Moss-Bachrach, I think I'm pronouncing his last name right, said in an interview that there is a group chat amongst themselves, and Pedro is the funny one. I kind of want to see the text messages once he said that. In San Diego Comic-Con, they did say that the new movie will be titled The Fantastic Four First Steps. I also did happen to see like a leaked trailer at the convention, and you can actually see the gang getting ready for a space mission. You know, nothing new, except the villain does not appear to be Doctor Doom. What it looks like, we got a glimpse of Galactus. Yeah. So this is going to be very interesting, of course, because it's not going to be just another reboot. Like, now we have a different villain. It could possibly be a different storyline. So I'm excited, of course. The trailer was definitely giving me Fallout vibes. You know, if you think about it, futuristic oldies, if you will. If you guys didn't know, we are less than a year out for this movie to come out, and it already looks better than the previous reboot. So I'm excited. I can't wait, and stay tuned for hopefully the trailer to release soon in the future. Besides Fantastic Four and Robert Downey Jr., another announcement was made at San Diego Comic-Con where Giancarlo Esposito confirmed he will be playing Sidewinder. I think I'm saying that right. And if you guys do not know, Sidewinder is the king of the Serpent Society. I never heard of him, but again, how he mentioned before, it's a badass character, so I have faith in him. And now we're gonna shift gears to DC. And we actually got a glimpse of Watchmen Chapter 1, which is gonna be an animated 2-part feature film, which will be releasing digital only on August 13th. On the clip itself, you see Mr. Manhattan, or Dr. Manhattan, over there getting interrogated on national television while Silk, Spectre, and Night Owl are fighting bad guys. If you've seen the movie, the one live action and everything, you kind of already get the gist of what's going to be about. I wonder if it's also going to be available on Max since they have that collaboration. Now, those are the crazy announcements I have for you guys that's been happening at CDCC. However, again, the convention is still going on today, so who knows what else is going to happen. But we're going to go ahead and move it along, and now we're going to be talking about Joker Folie à Deux. The trailer is out. Now, I've seen it. I'm not going to be talking too much about it. All I got to say is that Goggers, the curious gal that she is, you get to see her being Harley Quinn, and I'm like, I'm not feeling it, but at the same time, this movie's going to be different. So you do get to hear Joaquin Phoenix sing a little bit about finding Harley and her matching character. It is a musical again, and very theatrical, so it won't be the same as previous villain movies that we are used to. Director Todd Phillips says not to expect this Joker to become Gotham's clown prince of crime because, quote, Arthur clearly is not a mastermind. He was never that. Personally, I don't have that much hype on it, but again, I will watch it because my curiosity will never shut me down on this one. Enough about Marvel and DC. Now let's talk about Blumhouse. Apparently, they reported that the Spawn movie is confirmed and will be titled, quote, King Spawn. What have I said about Blumhouse? They will butcher it. No confirmation on the release date, but you guys have been warned. Now, the last thing I want to talk about. This we've discussed on the Gen Alpha language on one of the previous episodes. If not, definitely look into it. But I talked about Skibidi Toilet. And I found out that there's a film coming out based on this, and it's going to be directed by Michael Bay. If you guys do not know, Michael Bay and former Paramount Pictures president Adam Goodman plan to develop a film and TV treatment for Skibidi Toilet. And yes, it is that same YouTube series that revolves around a war between toilets with a human head and cyborgs. And now all the Gen Alpha are going to be so happy. Now they're going to be singing, "You're so Skibidi, you're so Phantom Tags, I just wanna be your Sigma." I hate myself. Luckily, that's all I have for you guys in the movies category. Now let's go ahead and talk about television. I only have one thing to talk about, and that's The Boys. If you guys do not know, last week we talked about The Boys season 4 finale, and now we're gonna be talking about what's coming up in the franchise. Thank you to Culture Crave for giving us this little infographic. Again, just to keep you guys up to date, The Boys Season 5, which is going to be the final season, is currently being written and will have 8 episodes that will be coming next year in 2026. But luckily for us, we're going to still be entertained with the franchise spin-off series. Gen V Season 2 is currently being filmed and is going to be coming out next year in 2025. They also did announce on San Diego Comic-Con that The Boys Blood Rising, that's what it's called, will bring back actors Jensen Ackles and Aya Cash as Soldier Boy and Stormfront. And this series, which I'm assuming, will be a prequel on how Bot ended up becoming this enterprise that it is, now. Apparently, this prequel is going to be set in 1950, so I'm excited. And also, let's not forget The Boys Mexico. I know I briefly mentioned it in one of my previous episodes. Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal are producing the show. The pilot hasn't been written yet. Hopefully they don't take long because, again, I'm impatient and I already need something to watch already. But that does it for the TV's category. Now let's talk about music. Before I even get ahead of myself with the Olympics, we gotta talk about Knotfest. And they're actually adding 2 more South American stops. Santiago, Chile will be welcoming Slipknot, Disturbed, Mudvayne, Amon Amarth, Baby Metal, Poppy, and Orbit Culture at the Parque del Estadio Nacional on November 2nd. Pre-sale for the tickets will be open on July 31st and August 1st at 11 a.m. and general sales will be open on August 2nd at 11 a.m. Buenos Aires, Argentina will be the next on the list as Slipknot, Amon Amarth, Meg Sugar, again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and Baby Metal will be performing at the Parque de la Ciudad on October 26th. Pre-sales for the tickets will also be available on July 31st, so you guys have been warned if you're interested on going. Now, enough about that. Let's go ahead and talk about Gojira. So, if you guys do not know, Gojira makes history by becoming the first metal band to perform at the Olympics. Oh my god. It was announced, it was live, and it was beautiful. So the band collaborated with opera singer Mariana Viotti to perform one of the famous revolutionary song, Asaira. The band and a bunch of headless Marie Antoinettes were in one of the castles in the Bastille, if I'm not mistaken. There were like red ribbons and fireworks, which meant to symbolize blood, of course, shot in the sky, while the actual fire and each band member staggered onto different windsills that brought the performance to life. That is quote by TMZ, by the way. I saw on another article by E! Entertainment highlighting a comment on social media that says, "One thing about the French, they're going to remind you they guillotine the fuck out of Marie Antoinette in the name of liberation." Either way, I saw the performance. It is beautiful the way how they were just going at it, because again, you have not seen a metal band at the Olympics, and I'm glad that they made history with that performance. If you guys did not know, Gojira is actually a French band, so it makes sense. Of course, they joined in with other singers, Lady Gaga, Celine Dion. Either way, if you haven't done so, check out the performance. It was beautiful. I wish I was there. I would have been headbanging so hard. Marie Antoinette's ghost was probably going to be like, really? That's not good for you. Now, moving along. Again, congratulations to Gojira. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Ghost releasing Mariana Cross and The Future is a Foreign Land animated music video. So we already know that Right Here, Right Now soundtrack is out to listen to. However, a lot of songs didn't appear on the track list. And to celebrate the release of the soundtrack, lots of record stores held a memorial for C-Store Imperator across the states. As far as for the music video for The Future is a Foreign Land, we learned that the song is definitely Papa Neil writing the song to C-Store Imperator. Also, the people that were touring the Bates Motel in the Mary on the Cross animated video were actually the Nameless Ghouls, which I did not know that. I thought it was just a bunch of horror icons just touring the place. But yeah, definitely check out the animated videos. If you guys didn't get to see Right Here, Right Now in the movies, you get to see Mary on the Cross and then The Future is a Foreign Land. It was beautiful. I liked it. The last thing I wanted to talk about in the music category is Deftones announced their 5th annual Dia de los Deftones Festival. It will be taking place at the Petco Park in San Diego, California on November 2nd. Deftones will headline and will be joined with Idols, Sunny Day Real Estate, Health, Paris, Texas, Duster, Gel, and Casdestra. I think that's how you pronounce it. If you guys are interested in going, tickets are now on sale. Damn, I'm going a little bit faster than I expected, but of course we're going to be talking a lot about Deadpool. And speaking of Deadpool, let's dive into the gaming category. Remember how last week we talked about the Deadpool Cheeky controllers? Well, we got Wolverine's bosom on a yellow Xbox controller, also designed by Deadpool. The controller is also going to be a giveaway item, but I have not found the sweepstakes entry information, so I don't know what's going to happen on that. You know what else I also noticed? PlayStation is slacking with this content. Where are our cheeky controllers? I mean, they can actually release it if they could. So IGN actually posted a video on their social media of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds holding the cheeky controllers, and their reactions were so hilarious. Ryan was over there licking his controller while Hugh was rubbing his fingers on both cheeks. I'm like, damn. If they wanted to, they could make so much money, Xbox. Release it already. But yeah, keep on the lookout if you guys do see the information for the Wolverine controllers. I'm still searching on X and even the Xbox website. So, anywho, the other thing I also wanted to talk about. SAG-AFTRA already had their strike regarding movies, but now the video game industry is gonna get affected. Companies included like Disney, Activision, Insomnia, Electronic Arts, Warner Brothers, and Take-Two are gonna be on strike, meaning that they're not gonna be making any video games soon, maybe. But at the same time, I'm like, what's new? Because this new game content that we've been getting has not been, to a point where I need to buy a game. So they said on a quote, "We're not going to consent to a contract that allows company to abuse AI to the detriment of our members. Enough is enough. When these companies get serious about offering an agreement our members can live and work with, we will be here, ready to negotiate." If you think about it, I know we've talked about AI in the past before, but it's slowly taking advantage of the things that we're used to making. Of course, the film one was one thing, video games is another. I'm not going to be surprised if music is going to be in the next part. I've seen videos on TikTok where people are saying, oh, hey, I make a song about Buc-ee's, for example, and they actually do it. Same thing with Dr. Pepper. And it sounds so country. It sounds legit. And I'm like, oh, God, we're going to be listening to music from AI itself. But yeah, it's a weird age that we're in, but that's the thing. We just got to learn to cope with and maybe not make it too smart to where it could take our jobs. So, yeah. But that's all I have for you guys on the gaming category. Now let's dive into wrestling. I know it's going a little bit faster than expected, but again, Deadpool. The first thing I wanted to talk about is AEW's Renee Paquette had her episode of Close Up with Dr. Britt Baker and revealed something I did not know about. Apparently, Britt suffered a TIA stroke and was rushed to the hospital. What you guys may not know, TIA stands for Transient Ischemic Attack. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it is also known as a mini stroke. It is a brief interruption of blood flow to the brain that causes symptoms similar to a stroke, but that does not last long. TIAs can also be caused by a number of factors, including narrowing of the arteries, usually caused by atherosclerosis. I think that's what it says. I don't know much of these medical terms, but I'm letting you guys know in case, you might experience it. Other symptoms could be like cerebral artery stenosis, spasms in the walls of the arteries, high blood pressure, which is so common in anything. The last thing would be lack of oxygen in the blood flowing to the brain. I don't know what could possibly happen in Britt Baker's case. I don't know about high blood pressure. The other thing I can also think about may be stress. It explains why she was absent for a while. She was rushed to the hospital, how I mentioned before. She was okay, but it's something to be aware of. And, for you, for example, that you guys are listening, please make sure to take care of yourself. Be wary of those signs of a possible stroke because it could also lead to other medical problems. And of course, the most common one is heart attack. So that's your first sign. But yeah, no, I'm keeping an eye on Britt now. Let's just make sure she doesn't push herself or, does not stress herself enough. So there's that. The other thing I also wanted to talk about, how I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, there are potential talks that the first international WrestleMania will be held in London. Triple H and Nick Khan had meetings with London's mayor, and so far they're in this talking stages about potential. So it has not been confirmed, but they are promoting it out there to show that, hey, WWE is thinking internationally. I actually posted a comment on one of the videos that Triple H posted on his social media that they should actually go to France because, of course, ever since the crowd in Perth, it just took my breath away. And I'm like, they deserve either, another pay-per-view, but potentially WrestleMania because, again, no other crowd can do better. So I'm over here, thinking positively, but at the same time, all of a sudden, I keep forgetting that there's some wrestling fans out there that are just so fucking toxic. And when I mean it. So I posted that, right? And most of the people, that were commenting on my comment, it was just positive, agreeing. They're like, yes, Friends did it best, this, and that, right? Then next thing I know, there's probably 2 to 3 guys who got nothing to do and were saying that it's none of my business. And I'm like, first of all, it's called social media. Everybody has an opinion if the comment section is open, of course. And then as soon as I called out 2 of the guys' immaturity, one of them, for example, was saying shut the fuck up, it's none of your business. I'm over here I guess you're not getting any action or what? So that person didn't even say anything back. But there was another one particularly that couldn't even be mentioned because they had a private account. And they're over there talking shit, and I'm over there talking shit, right? Next thing I know, that person ended up deleting their Instagram, and I'm like, womp womp. What's next? But yeah, I don't understand why people get all fucking aggressive when somebody else is talking good about it. I'm over here saying, hey, I'm an American. I don't care about WrestleMania happening in the States. I wanted to go internationally. But I'm just saying, hey, think about France next time because, again, they deserve it. But then these people all of a sudden no, fuck you. You don't have an opinion. And I'm like, Who asked for yours then to begin with? Like, I don't fucking understand these fucking wrestling fans. Are they even wrestling fans to begin with? That's what I mean. Like, first the thing with Marvel where people are talking shit about Robert Downey Jr. coming back. And now this, like, seriously, people, just fucking shut the fuck up. Like, if you have a social media and all you do is just attack people, you're living a really sad life. I'm over here like, hey, I'm gonna call out on your shit. Just know that. You're not gonna like what I gotta say, but be prepared. So, anywho, sucks to be that other person that deleted their Instagram. I didn't know I hurt their feelings, so womp womp again. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about in the wrestling category is what happened on Monday Night Raw. Everybody was talking about it, and it kind of died down, so I'm like, we need to bring it back to light. Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, and Dominic Mysterio. You guys already know I'm on Rhea's side. I'm already fed up with this whole like, Liv Morgan's trying to take Dominic. Dominic just doesn't know how to say stop, you know, whatever. So Rhea's over there just to let Liv have Dominic and end the whole manipulation game that she's trying to do. But Liv is over there intimidating Rhea, like, you know, once they're in the ring, saying that Dominic prefers women like Liv. And I'm like, what the fuck? Is this a joke? And then Dominic is over there, you know, trying to end it. And Liv's like, I know what you're trying to say. Just say those 3 little words. Dominic literally went bilingual on her. And I thought it was the best thing I've been wanting to see. Like, once I'm hearing it, like, he's over there cussing her out in Spanish and whatnot. Like, I fell to the floor the moment he said, ¿Estás pendeja o qué? And I'm like, yes. The crowd, by the way, cheered and was quiet enough to let Dominic lash out at Liv. Like, they cheer for Dom, like, yeah, you know, he's lashing out on her. As satisfying as it was to watch that, the comment section in every post that WWE was, you know, putting on their social media, people were saying that Dominic and Liv is planning this only to throw Rhea off, and later on in SummerSlam, Dominic will end up betraying her. Everybody's also saying, you know, it will feed families, it's going to be high peak cinema, this, and that. I had my predictions. I mentioned that before too. I will be pissed if it happens. However, I really have my moment with what just happened on Monday. I love seeing it, and I still don't understand. Again, everybody on social media was, you know, feeling sorry for Liv because apparently she cried and all. But on national television, everybody was cheering over the fact that Dominic was talking shit to Liv. Everybody was rooting for mommy. I don't understand, where are the Liv fans on national television? What the fuck? I don't know, but either way, I can't wait to see what SummerSlam's gonna bring. Of course, we're not gonna be talking about what's gonna happen since I already threw out my prediction last week because I'm planning ahead. But SummerSlam is going to be coming out this coming Saturday. And once and for all, we're going to see how this whole drama is going to end. As much as I don't want it to end, because it's been hilarious. It's been entertaining too. But we'll see how it's going to go. Man, imagine if this was a regular episode and I didn't have to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. This episode would have been hella short because we just wrapped up what's been happening on pop culture for the week. Now, let's talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. So let's go ahead and kick off the spoiler-free version. As we always kick off on the movie reviews in the spoiler-free version, we're going to be talking about the Rotten Tomatoes score and the audience score. When I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score, I was questioning so many things. I mean, it's good, but I was like, what the fuck? I had to look into the actual critic reviews to understand why they gave it the percentage that it is right now. So Rotten Tomatoes score for Deadpool and Wolverine is at a 79%. Close to 80, yeah. But 79, you know? I'm like, it's good. It's certified fresh. Could have been higher, though. The audience score, however, it's at a solid 97%. So that's good. So when I went to the critic score, I wanted to understand again how I mentioned. The cons were that it was overly funny, too many jokes, where critics on Rotten Tomatoes score were either getting bored or cringed out. Clearly, they see Marvel movies as, quote, just another superhero movie with exaggerated dialogue. See, from my aspect, I can understand some parts. There was a moment where I actually wanted Deadpool to be quiet for once. there was probably like one detail that didn't make sense. It threw me off, I will admit that. And at the end of it, I just said, it is a movie after all. The storyline does get confusing. I mean, we are in the multiverse era, and it may be also confusing for a lot of new Marvel fans. So I will say, okay, if this is your first time watching a Marvel movie, yeah, no, it might not be good for y'all. Like, yeah, I understand we have so many Marvel movies out there, and it leads to why new Marvel projects are not getting that much hype anymore, because it's too much. But those are the cons. Let me go ahead and talk about the pros. I had to kick it off with the cons so that way we can just get it out the way. So the pro is that this movie is for Marvel fans. I have been watching Marvel movies since I can remember. If there's like a movie or even a series that I have not seen, I will either watch it or get familiar with it. If I'm not interested in it, I will either get like a summary, like for example, like Charlie Cox's Daredevil, you know, The Punisher, Jessica Jones, even Ghost Riders. I have no idea what it's all about, but I got a summary off of it because I'm not gonna watch it. I don't know why. There were series from, you know, I think it was what, the CW? I don't remember. I don't watch television, and if it wasn't streaming, I'm gonna dismiss it. Yeah, sure, it's on Netflix now, I think, or Disney, but I'm like, I don't got time for that. So I'm familiar with it. Back to the movie, this brought my childhood memories back. Like, I even had to text my brother to tell him he's not ready for this movie. If you have not watched it, you are probably not ready. But trust me when I tell you, it is great to experience this movie with first-time watchers because it brings your excitement up even more. Right now, I'm pretty sure that people that are watching Deadpool are watching it for the second, third time. Me, you know? But other than that, I can clearly say there can only be one Deadpool and Wolverine. The bromance between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman brings a beautiful on-screen charisma in the movie. I am happy that they're promoting it together in so many places that you can see that bond between them. For example, if you guys have not seen like the series Hot Ones, they did it. I was laughing in so many areas. Of course, like Hugh Jackman's over there trying to survive. Ryan Reynolds is over there blabbering his mouth like typical Deadpool. And for a moment, whenever he ate a very hot, spicy wing, they're over there like coughing, and Ryan was just like, I cheat on Wordle. I don't know why I said that. Everybody, even in the back, were laughing. I was laughing. I'm like, why did he just randomly said that? Now I want to get a shirt of him in that little still that he did, and then put underneath, I cheat on Wordle. Ryan Reynolds on Hot Ones. Not only that, too, he was also promoting like the hot sauce every minute that he gets a chance. Like, he'll be like, oh yeah, but not like this hot sauce available in every retail or something. I don't know, but it was so hilarious. But yeah, I love that they're doing it together. Of course, you can see it. I've been following them on social media for so many years, so every time they get their funny like feud moments that I actually do miss, it makes me laugh so freaking much. I love them. The other thing you also have to keep in mind that there is only one end credit in the movie, but during the credits you do get a farewell to the 20th Fox Century Studios. Now, before I dive into the spoiler version, I actually went through my phone and got the news that Deadpool and Wolverine opens with 438.3 million worldwide. It is now the biggest R-rated debut ever and 8th biggest domestic debut ever. As far as the Rotten Tomatoes score and the audience score, you already know that I'm agreeing with the audience. There were more pros than cons. I mean, yeah, again, storyline could have been better. Like how I mentioned before, you know, moments I did cringe. But at the end of the day, as a Marvel fan, I fell in love with this movie to a point that I already want to watch it again for the third time in a row, maybe. But yeah, that's all you guys got to know on the spoiler-free version. Now let's talk about the spoiler version. And yes, this consists of everything that's been happening in the movie specifically, theories and all of that. So here comes your spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. Where do I even start? Like, why was Thor crying? Also, Baby Knife. I love how he always introduced Baby Knife every time he uses it. It's so cute and adorable. Now, do we gotta talk about the NSYNC dance? Anyone else wanted to join in as they were watching Deadpool? do a dance off, you know. It was very accurate too. I got to see like a side-by-side version, you know, the music video in sync and the dance that Deadpool was doing. Like, all the moves were right. But apparently it wasn't Ryan Reynolds in the mask. It was somebody else. Now, the other thing I mentioned in the past on a previous episode, I was wondering if Buck was gonna have any speaking lines, and no, they still brought that up. Wade was like, Buck, what are we talking about? You still don't have any speaking lines, except when he said menopause, and that was it. Other than that, Buck was still quiet. Now, I also wanted to talk about the search of Wolverine. I don't know how everybody felt when they saw Shorty Wolvie. I think that's gonna be a thing that people are gonna say. I was like, hold up. And apparently it was a homage to one of the comic books where Wolverine was actually shorter on everybody else on the X-Men. So I think that's where they got it. Also, Hulk made a brief appearance, but not really, I guess. Now, we gotta talk about Henry Cavill. I was not expecting Homeboy to show up in the MCU. So he made his debut and people are calling him Cavalry. I'm over here like, the fuck? But yeah, I was thrown off at first until I remember I saw briefly on a comment section for something. And they were saying Henry Cavill. But I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? And then when it was time to be in the movie theaters, when I went to go watch it, I was looking at him and I'm like, who's that? And luckily the person sitting next to me was like, that's Henry Cavill. And I'm like, no, I was losing it. But that was hilarious. I wonder if they're gonna bring him back. But hey, like Deadpool said, we'll treat you better than the other studio. I'm like, oh my god. Now, we also gotta talk about fucking Chris Evans. My boy is back, but not as Captain America. They really did say anything can happen in the freaking multiverse era, and that's what they said with this. I gasped, like literally I think my soul went away from my body for a split second thinking, oh my god, what is Captain America doing here? But I think my soul actually left my body even more when, Chris Evans, I guess, was saying flame on, and I'm like, Johnny Storm, like, oh my god. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but I gotta take a minute and appreciate Deadpool, like, getting the opportunity to hold, like, Chris Evans or Johnny, whatever, like, if they were in Titanic, it's like, yeah, I got your cap, And it was crazy because I'm starting to see a video resurface on the internet where Chris Evans said in an interview that he wanted to come back as Johnny Storm since he didn't get the opportunity to play that role more compared to Captain America. And he also didn't want to ruin what he left behind for Captain America. So the ending of how we saw it in this movie was a little bit sad, for Johnny Storm. But at the end of the day, he had it coming. It was not Deadpool's fault from what we saw in the end credits too. Another thing, did anyone else notice a floating Fantastic Four car that was driven by one of Cassandra's crew? And we're talking about the new movie that's coming out next year. So I don't know if y'all noticed. Also, we gotta talk about Peggy as Mary Poppins. I think that's how they call her. She thought the main Deadpool was her papa. And the fact that they kept saying papa, I'm over here like I thought I was the only one. Just so y'all know, Cosmo's looking for her papa, by the way. New one. Can we also talk about how Deadpool and Wolverine were fighting in a Honda Odyssey, making it look like it was like car sex or something? Like, the change in the music, that's when we did hear the Greatest Showman song, which, boo, by the way. I was looking forward seeing, Wolverine and Hugh Jackman as the Greatest Showman, like, at the same room and whatnot. But, anywho. But back to the whole fighting thing, like, the poses did say a lot. Like, Deadpool was over there saying, like, come here. Same thing with Wolverine. They're saying, like, come here, hand gesture. But yeah, they did all of that in that car, and I'm just like, are y'all trying to implement a message in here? For those that are getting freaky in the car, maybe you should invest on the Honda Odyssey because of all that space. Now y'all know. And I thought Chris Evans' cameo was breathtaking. No. We get to see Elektra, Blade, and Channing Tatum's Gambit. Like, I was thrown off when I saw Jen Garner come back as Elektra. But then when I saw Wesley Snipes as Blade, like him coming out, I freaked out. I had no choice but literally text my brother because he loved watching the Blade movies. And I know he's not ready to watch his boy come back on the screen. Also, I don't know if you guys caught this, but there was a reference when Blade said, quote, "I don't like you" to Deadpool. And Deadpool saying, like, quote, "You never did." Apparently it was a reference for Blade Trinity because both Wesley and Ryan were in it. And Wesley did express that he did not like working with Ryan Reynolds on set. So there's that. Anywho, I gotta talk about Gambit. The movie that was promised and we never got. And yet we finally got Channing Tatum to show off this character and get that screen time. This was definitely we got Channing Tatum as Gambit before GTA. Because we didn't know that was going to happen. Gambit was supposed to be in development for so long. And then it got scrapped because 21st Century got bought out by Disney. So I'm glad that they brought him back. And now Channing Tatum had that moment. He deserves it, by the way. Hopefully they do make that standalone film that he deserves. And we already talked about Daphne King coming back as X-23 or, Laura. So I'm not really going to dive into that because I guess the trailer kind of ruined the moment. But still, all of these people actually made their way to San Diego Comic-Con. Which, of course, it wasn't good for those that did not watch the movie and got to see them on the panel. So they got the movie spoiled right then and there. Which, again, I'm glad I got to watch the movie on Thursday. Because you best believe the next day, everybody was posting the movie. So, anywho. The other thing I also wanted to talk about is all the kinds of Deadpools that we got to see. I'm like, damn. Like, the battle between all these Deadpools and main Deadpool and Wolverine. It's like, oh, what are the odds? They're not gonna make it. But then again, they did. The other thing I also wanted to talk about right before they were gonna lash out at all the Deadpools was Logan putting on the Wolverine mask. It literally had me crying. That's when I said, my childhood flashed before my eyes. Another thing, who else wanted to lick Wolverine's abs? Just me? No? Oh, okay, yeah. I'm not the only one, thank God. The way how the man looked like a snack for his age, I'm like, holy shit. If you think about it, everyone was just like Deadpool and the other two TVA people that were just staring, especially when the girl clerk said yummy. I'm like, yeah. This is where I got thrown off and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Was the part where Wolverine and Deadpool survived that whole, magma thingy that they were doing. Again, that was the confusing part of the storyline. I'm like, how did they survive? But then Deadpool's like, oh, what you forgot is that you had me and Wolverine. I'm like, I don't know. It made me question everything, but again, how I mentioned before, it's just a movie. I did cry once again when I got to see Laura and Logan sitting together with everyone else. Now, even though it's not the same Wolverine and Laura knows that, but at the end of the day, she got her papa back in a different shape, a better shape at that. It's not old man Logan. And I'm like, oh, they got their happy ending. I also wanted to talk about the credits. A lot of people were questioning who is Lady Pool? Who's all of these people? Obviously, everybody suspected that Lady Pool was Blake Lively. And yes, the credits did confirm that. Not only that, during the movie where Nice Pool was talking about Lady Pool, saying that she just had a baby and she still looks stunning, I'm over here like, yeah, that's definitely Blake Lively. And speaking of Nice Pool, he was credited as Gordon Reynolds, who is Ryan's fake twin brother from a 2016 comedy video. So you already know the context from that. Fun fact, Kid Pool and Baby Pool is actually Ryan and Blake's kids. So I'm like, oh, hey. Surprisingly, though, Matthew McConaughey was Cowboy Deadpool. I'm like, I knew that voice sounded familiar. All right. Nathan Fillion was actually Head Pool. Here is where it gets a little bit complicated, but I'm going to go ahead and help you guys out. Welsh Pool. I was like, who the fuck? Yeah. Was played by Paul Mullin, who happens to be a soccer player for Wrexham AFC that is owned by Ryan Reynolds. It's like, forget people that are auditioning. If you know Ryan Reynolds, you probably got the part. And I also didn't know this, but we had a Canadian pool, or Canada pool, however they call it. And that one was played by Alex Kishkovich, I think that's how you pronounce it, who was actually a stuntman in X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, I wanted to leave this in the spoiler version because we're already talking about the movie. A lot of you guys already know what happened. But here's an interesting theory that was posted by the Cosmic Geek _. Not only it aligns with Deadpool and Wolverine, but it also makes sense of what's going to be coming up in Avengers Doomsday. So they said a reminder that Deadpool and Wolverine will introduce the anchor concept. In the MCU, an anchor refers to a character whose death causes their universe to gradually crumble and decay until it eventually vanishes. This process can take months or even years. In terms of Iron Man, Tony Stark being the anchor makes sense, as in the Kang Dynasty, title may change, the 616 universe collapses in the final act and Iron Man is long gone by then. His death in Endgame could have spelled out the apocalypse that awaits in the 616 universe. And I want to say this was posted before the announcements that happened yesterday and even the movie premiering. However, I'm a little bit conflicted to see if it makes sense because from what we saw in the movie, when Deadpool was in Earth 616, it literally said underneath the sacred timeline. Will the sacred timeline actually decay? It is a big theory unless Endgame happened in a whole different Earth, not 616. I'm not sure. See, this is why I'm like, sometimes these theories you gotta think and try to figure out what could potentially happen. In other words, this whole thing that happened with Endgame, and if Iron Man were to be the anchor point, 616 is probably like a goodbye cause, saying like, okay, we're in the multiverse era. We're not going to focus on what's been happening on Earth 616. We're going to go ahead and explore other Earths and their storylines, and given which RDJ is coming back as Doctor Doom. So maybe we don't even have to focus on 616. But then again, we love it every time they reference it. I remember when I was watching that whole interview Deadpool was having with Happy, the person next to me was gasping when it said Earth 616, and they're like, oh my god, they mentioned it. And I'm like, I love it how they geek out with it. And then with everything that's been happening in Deadpool and Wolverine, you know, with everybody else coming from different universes, of course it's a homage of saying, hey, you know, we already bought out 20th Century, let's go ahead and introduce them to the void, you know, because the studio's gone, put the characters in there. I mean, it makes sense too why the 21st Century logo was in the void. But then what we thought from the TVA was not allowing other variants to be in other worlds. Like, for example, Hunter B-15 actually allowed Deadpool and Wolverine be a part of the Earth that they were in. There were so many numbers I cannot even keep track of. But I'm like, if she allowed them to be on that timeline, what's gonna happen to it since there's so many variants on there? See, and now I can understand why people that are now watching Marvel movies are gonna get so confused because it's so hard to keep up with it. But anywho, I'm surprised we finally reached the end. I thought we were gonna surpass maybe an hour, but that didn't do so. So with that being said, that wraps up this week's episode. As always, make sure to follow my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram, Threads, and X, and subscribe to my YouTube channel at It's Lielers. And also do not forget to follow me on TikTok at Lielers. Lielers on TikTok. Of course, next week we're going to be talking about SummerSlam. All my predictions, of course, how I mentioned, I talked about it last week, so you guys are more than welcome to take at it, listen to last week's episode, get an idea of who I'm rooting for, who I might not be rooting for. I talked a little bit briefly already this week, but I'm excited. I'm gonna let you guys know ahead of time. In 2 weeks, that will be August 11. I'm gonna take a break. What? Yeah, I need a vacation. I know I usually do these podcast episodes every Sunday, but I feel like, yeah, it's time for me to take a break. But I'm only going to take it for that week. I will be back on August 18th. And no, I'm not going out of town or nothing. I just need a mental break. Today, I was like, am I feeling it? And I was not. I will admit I wasn't feeling it, but as soon as I started rambling on Deadpool, I'm like, oh yes, let's do it. Of course, next week it is SummerSlam, and I know I'm going to be rambling a lot about wrestling, which I love to. So there's that. So I'm like, yeah, I think we'll go ahead and take a little break on the 11th. Nothing personal. It's just I'm going to take advantage of the day and do something else. I'm obviously staying busy to the point that I haven't keep up with things that have been happening at home. You know, Cosmo, for example. She's pooping and peeing everywhere and making my day all miserable because I had to clean up after her. But I love her because she is the babies. By the way, don't forget, Babies is looking for her papa. Just saying. But anywho, I hope you guys did enjoy this week's episode. And I will talk to you guys on the next one.